Hey everyone, welcome to the Retail Redefined podcast, a podcast that is all about retail design and the future of it. And I'm your host, Chriselle, back again for season 2. It's been 1 year since we first launched season 1, and I'm excited to come back to you with season 2, with 10 all new episodes that are going to be released over the course of the next 10 weeks. We have a ton more content for you guys, a lot more conversations and a lot more thought-provoking and interesting perspectives to listen to, as most of this season is consisting of a lot of conversations between myself and 2 other people, and it's been a lot of fun engaging and doing the interviews with a slightly different dynamic than how they were done last season. So yeah, expect to hear from designers, expect to hear from our interior design studio, who was just starting out around this time last year, but is now coming in full force. And even you'll get to hear from some of our clients. So it's pretty exciting, and I hope that you stay tuned. I'm very, very excited for today's episode because we are going to have Mitra Esfandiari, who is a principal that we've had on the podcast before, as well as Luis, who is from Cinépolis, which is a Mexican-based movie theater chain, luxury movie theater chain, and they function in 19 countries as well as the US. And we recently worked with them to complete their newest location in Pacific Palisades, which is a very luxury high-class theater. So in today's episode, we're going to talk a lot about that, but we're also going to talk a little bit about trends in the entertainment industry and how that's shifting, how theater operators operate and how they need to change their mindset and evolve in order to keep up with the trends, especially with the rise of streaming services and more people choosing to stay home. A good reference that Luis made in the interview that you will hear is comparing, the idea of movie theaters to eating out at restaurants. We have kitchens at home, but we still choose to eat out because of the food and the experience and the convenience. And the same can go for theaters. We all have the opportunity to watch a film at home, but there's nothing like going into a theater for yourself. So I had a lot of fun with this episode, and it's great to be able to talk to a client and see how things work on their end as well. So listen and enjoy. Hi, Luis. Hi, Mitra. How are you?
Morning.
Good,
How are you?
good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great. A little chilly here in Dallas, but finally the winter will be over soon.
Also, you should come and visit California more often.
Great. So thank you so much, Mitra and Luis, for, being on the show today, especially with you, Luis. I'm sure you have a very busy schedule. So I'm glad that you were able to take some time to sit down and talk with both Mitra and I today.
No, it's a pleasure. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm available. No, always available for Mitra.
Thank you.
Mm.
Great. So let's just get right into it. So Luis, I'd love to start off with you. If you could please just talk a little bit on Cinépolis and its background in the American market.
Yes, of course. Well, Cinepolis is a Mexican company that it was founded in 1971. So we have been doing operating theaters in Mexico and other countries for more than 45 years. And in 2011, we opened our first operation in the US. We decided to come here to the US, where the cinema was born, with a different concept that it was not so prevailing, or it was not as popular as it is right now. that is where the luxury theaters. No, that was our strategy. We started in California with 5 theaters, and we brought here to the U.S. Or recliner seats, leather, big screens, like very nice menu, upscale menu, drinks, and to try to offer a different experience to the U.S. market. Here in the U.S. back then, the theaters were all kind of like traditional stadium seating. They didn't have the recliners. So that's how we decided to come here and compete and try to be different from the big chains.
Great. That sounds really great. And I saw that you guys do now have locations not only in California, but I know you have some in Texas, Ohio, Connecticut, so a variety, like a bunch of different places around the US.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, after we started growing in California, we tested the market, tested the model, and we saw that there was a big opportunity to continue to expand across the United States. So that's when
Hmm.
we decided to go to other states. So we first started in Florida, and then in the Northeast, and finally we came here to Texas, where right now our corporate USA headquarters is based. And yes, we will continue to expand across the United States, trying obviously to focus our cinemas in these areas that will be California, Texas, Florida, and the Northeast. And well, right now we have one theater in Dayton, Ohio, and we will be opening in about 2 years another one in the outskirts of Chicago. So we're going also to the Midwest.
Okay, that's great. That's great
Sounds
to
great.
hear.
Yeah.
Now let's go on to Mitra. Mitra, I know you've been on the podcast before,
Yes.
but now we're going to be talking a little bit more specifically on some of your experience. So, why don't you talk to us a little bit about your background as well as RDC's background in theater design?
Sure, yes. So we started designing movie theaters in the era of megaplexes, IMAX, and startup stadium style seating around 1993, 94. So it's been like 25, 26 years ago. And so our first client actually was Edwards Theaters, and over time they became one of our major clients. They were based in Orange County, so at the time it made sense for us to open an office in OC very close to their headquarters. Our first major project was Edwards 21 Plex plus IMAX in Irvine Spectrum in Irvine, California. The late Mr. Edwards Sr., who was extremely sharp and witty, was the owner, and his vision was to create these mega places with grand lobbies and fun environments for every generation. He loved incorporation of neon lighting, fun colors, materials, and murals. So we designed many multiplexes for Edwards in various locations. And in the US, till Edwards Theaters was purchased by Regal Entertainment in the early 2000s. But during this period and later on, we worked with many other chains, including AMC, Kerkorian, Pacific, Century, and Maya Cinemas for multiple locations. So in 1999, actually, when we were designing a very unique and small Edward Theater, only a sixplex, which was very rare for those days, in Caruso's project called Commons at Calabasas. So Caruso's team and our client were very happy with our performance and how the project turned out. So shortly after, when Rick Caruso started design of the Grove, they called us to design their multiplex theater at that project. So there was no operator in the beginning. So we worked with Caruso's team directly, and later Pacific Theaters became the operator. Um, and Caruso's vision was to create a luxury and upscale environment, kind of reminiscent of Hollywood movie palaces with a feel of hospitality. So, in contrast to other mega places of the time, the box office, for example, was designed in an open counter inside the lobby, resembling the hotel lobby. And and later on, we designed Pacific Theaters in Americana at Brand, with a similar design approach. I would say in the past decade, the landscape of movie theaters has changed tremendously. Basically, consumer needs started to shift over the years, and due to many factors such as home streaming services, e-commerce, evolution of retail industry in general, and we've been part of this journey with our clients who are responding to this shift in their program, and we are responding to these changes with the design and creative
Mhm.
ideas. So it's been a kind of a long journey.
Yeah. And now there's RDC and Cinépolis working together
There you
too.
go. And actually, and part of this story that I talked about Caruso. And since the Bay Theater at Palisade Village is a Caruso project, so that was kind of the connection between us and them and Sinopolis, which is a unique opportunity.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity and it's a beautiful project. And we will talk a little bit more about that later. But first, Luis, I wanted to ask you, so, well, I could even talk to Mitra as well, since Mitra is also now very familiar with the brand. But, what would you say makes Sinopolis stand out nowadays when a lot of theater chains are now, trying to incorporate luxury
Well, I think
amenities into their
one of the things that
cinemas?
makes us different is that we have been doing this since 1997. That's when we opened our first luxury
Mm-hmm.
theater back in Mexico. And we have been replicating this model throughout the world. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, we operate in 19 countries. Most likely, the latest was we just opened in
Oh,
the Middle
wow.
East a new theater. So I think we have been doing this for a long time. And what also makes
Oh,
us different is that we will always be a movie theater. No, so for us, the experience of watching the movie has to be very good, excellent, because that's the reason you're going to a theater. So we will never be a restaurant with a movie theater. We are a theater with upscale food that you can eat while watching the movie. The other things that we take care of a lot is in terms of our seats. Our seats are all are made of leather, so that makes another difference. And also in terms of the design, and you will see it in our newest theaters, the ones that we have built from scratch, is that the first row is quite far from the screen because we don't want you to have a bad experience while watching the movie. Because we
yeah.
prefer for you to have a great experience instead of just getting more seats to the screen and having some customers that well they buy the ticket, they are not as comfortable as the rest of our clients. And at the end, service, no service, I think service was is what makes us different,
Yeah.
and service is the one thing that you cannot copy. So we try to have the best service in terms of how, since you buy your ticket, we have had reserved seating for more than 10 years across our chain, so it's nothing new for us. So you can pick and choose where you want to sit, obviously through your phone, through the app, through the web, or in the theater. Also, obviously, when you get in, how comfortable the seats are, the how the waiters approach you. Obviously, you have a button that you can press, and the waiter will server will come and ask for you for to take your order. So I think we take care of all those little things that at the end make the experience more memorable and better, and they make it so you want to come back.
Yeah. That's interesting that you said that even the front row seats are still not very close to the screen because yeah, you want everyone to be comfortable and it makes sense because it's not like a concert where certain seats are cheaper, certain seats are more expensive depending on the view. You're paying the same price as everybody else in
Correct.
the room.
So I think that and
So
other things, other little things that
it's a
we
nice
have done
approach.
probably here you won't see it in US, but I think it tells you of how we think as a company. when you go to other theaters that are more traditional in other countries, the space between the seats is wider, or stadium seating is higher. So we take care of these little things that at the end make you enjoy more the movie. Sometimes you don't even notice them. You just
Mhm.
feel it that, well, I like more Cinepolis because it's more comfortable. But I think it's the sum of those
Mhm.
things that make at the end the difference. No.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And, speaking of the little things that make a difference, I do
Mhm.
want to move into talking a little bit more about, um, you know, Pacific Palisades a little bit, since that was a collaboration between us and you guys.
Mhm.
So, the recent Sinopolis in Pacific Palisades features a traditional 35 millimeter film projector. And that's really awesome. And what made you decide to include one in this particular cinema?
Well, I guess this has started with a conversation that Alejandro Ramirez, our global CEO, had with two very prominent Oscar winners, no directors.
Uh huh.
They were in a conference, and they were just talking about the theater, where it's going to be located, and they both live in that area. So
Oh.
they just told Alejandro, I think it will be nice to have a 35 millimeter projector, so we can bring our personal copies and showing there, or you can have like different showings with all 35 millimeter film.
Mm-hmm.
So when he told us, well, these two directors, when they told us this, we said, well, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. We can make this theater different, where because obviously, as you can see in the facade, is a little 70s. Is kind of like old school, reminiscent of the classic movie theaters that there were in the U.S. And this in particular, a design that it was made for the Bay Theater that existed in the Palisades.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was a perfect opportunity to do something very unique. So we kind of like stopped the construction that we were doing in that screen. We already had the projector in another of our theaters. So we have to do the adjustments in the projection booth so we can fit both, because we have actually the digital to show everyday movies,
Mm-hmm.
and to incorporate also the 35 millimeter projector. So we did that. We installed it. Obviously, had some difficulties that obviously Mitra suffered a little bit because we have to do some structural changes, and then we have to include a lift because the film rolls are very heavy,
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
we couldn't take them up through a normal stair. So we have to put a lift, and that had some complications. So, but I think at the end, uh, it was worth it. Right now, we will be showing very soon Casablanca. That will be our first 35 millimeter showing that we will have. It will be open to the public.
Oh, wow.
So, and we will start to doing that more. No, so we will be doing probably once a month to begin with a film, a classic film, as it was originally filmed. So I think that for a lot of people is something very special. And there's even a trend. Some directors, even when they're filming a digital movie, they still put the scratches and the little things that you used to see in the classic movie, so that they look a little more like they were originally.
Mm.
So that's how we came up with the 35 millimeter projector. Obviously, we have to do some training to our staff because most of them didn't know how to operate it.
Mm-hmm.
But we have some people, some employees with the company that are familiar with the use of this kind of projectors. So they have been training our local staff so that we take care of these films, because obviously they're very expensive, they're classic, and they have to be taken care of as they are, no, a very unique product.
I see. Yeah.
So it definitely really, in the design of the theater, sounds like that's an example of really catering to the entertainment, I guess, background of that
Mhm.
area.
Mhm.
Correct. Yeah, I think considering all the people from the industry that live in that area, this was a perfect opportunity to do something different, special for them. It's a treat, I guess, from Cinepolis to the industry, because obviously the return on that investment will be very low, considering that there's not a lot of movies. Studios are very difficult in terms of loaning their films, 35 millimeter films, because they have it in the archives,
Yeah,
and it's not as easy just to get as a digital copy.
of course.
So yes, it's something that we have done in terms to make this theater unique, and also catering to the clientele that we have there every day.
So, Luis, I think there will also be like private screening opportunities, like they can, rent the whole auditorium, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's the other obviously reason that we put the projector, where we are looking forward to have these directors to rent the whole theater, well, the whole auditorium, so they can show it in a private way, their movies, their collections, or if they want to do like a film festival, we can arrange that too. So it give us a lot of flexibility, and in terms of satisfying this old school thing that is like vinyl, not vinyl disc, and that are coming back. It's just the same.
Hmm. Yeah, that's very true.
Mm-hmm.
Vintage is in.
True.
Okay, so for both you, Luis, and Mitra,
Mm-hmm.
I would love if you guys could walk me through the thought process in designing the Pacific Palisades Theater. I understand that this location has become the flagship and also probably the smallest Sinopolis theater. And why did you decide on this particular format, and how does that work for this demographic?
Well,
So I
I
don't
think we started with the piece of land that they gave us. It was very small. We have loved to do something bigger, so
know.
that in particular put a lot of constraints in terms of how we designed the theater. And considering how important this theater was going to be to our brand, and also how iconic the whole shopping center has become, and other projects that we have with Caruso, we decided obviously to work with Mitra, and we decided to work with an architectural firm that could deliver something very unique, no? So I think part of the design process was to obviously it's the selection, and we selected someone that had the experience of building theaters, but at the same time that had the catalog, or other projects where they were very unique, very especially designed for some areas. So we just didn't want to have just a normal theater, no. And that's how we started with the process. We wanted a very unique theater that could match the area, and the people that live there, but also at the same time that it could take in our brand, and how we like to operate theaters, no. So that's how we started, no. So I don't know, Mitra, from your end, how you
Yeah,
felt it.
yeah, that's well, thank you. Basically, well, I can speak about the design process maybe a little bit. We had actually a very collaborative design process between our team at RDC, Sinopolis, and Caruso's team. And we started by researching the history of the Bay Theater, which, as Louis mentioned, was designed by Charles Lee and was recognized by its famous, iconic sign. And but it was closed in 1978. So the new design, Caruso's, exterior facade and the bay sign, is kind of a reminiscent of this historic theater, and in the interior design kind of responds to Sinopolis's brand DNA in a way. We worked with Cinepolis' team, to establish the vision and the story of this project based on, their key brand elements, and then also the context and the community. This was generated based on many design charrettes and workshops and creation of kind of mood boards and establishing the story.
Hmm.
And I think that's what really separates this theater from others. Based on the project program and the very small available area that we had to work with, we took a very it took a very close coordination process with Crusoe's team
Hmm.
to make everything work out. When we were designing the theater, we kind of wanted to celebrate its coastal downtown location in the heart of Pacific Palisades, as well as the surrounding community. So each aspect of the guest experience was designed to with elements that would incorporate, the beachside neighborhood vibes, while bringing in signature luxurious design elements for which the Sonopolis brand is kind of known for.
Yeah.
Uh, so the design concept of the theater is based on an intimate collection of five auditoria, kind of connected with the community lounge, and with a very warm and weathered wood materials and similar materials. So and it's accented by woven brass metal screen. So the entry to the cinema is kind of themed as a beach resort style, like a living room with high volume and accented with a chandelier, modern interpretation of a chandelier. So a focal point of the lobby is an inviting full screen, cocktail bar showcasing top shelf offerings and design displays. So a gallery is also featured with movie displays, kind of leading you into the auditoria entries. And the lighting design, we had a lighting design team with us that, we kind of carefully integrated the design, elements to grace the surfaces of the feature walls to highlight, a subtle neutral palette of materials. So this was kind of generally explains, the feel of that of the design.
Yeah. And for those of you listening, if you head on over to our website, we will have some photos of the project for you to have a look at because it is a beautiful project. I mean, I haven't had the chance to go there myself, but it's beautiful. It's a
Yeah.
really nice space and it looks very close to the rendering,
Yeah.
Yes, and
which
I
is
think
also really awesome.
yes, I think the artist did an awesome job because you can feel uh, the theater like when you go in, kind of like old school with the facade. But then as soon as you go into, obviously you have a very comfortable, very warm lobby that is very small because of the space constraints that we have. But at the end, it doesn't feel crowded, no. And then we have a
No,
great distribution. We built let me see how you said it in English. Sorry. A
no worries.
basement, yes, yes, we a
Mhm.
basement. So we were able to have more space on the first floor for our clients, no. And the bar has a very nice bar with some very great details, a very nice lamp that gives it a different atmosphere and look and feel to the lobby. And obviously the auditoriums are state of the art like we usually do, and very well designed too. So I think overall Mitra's team did a great job, and we are very happy with the end result because it has become like sort of flagship in terms of luxury of design, location, and it has helped us also to land other deals because it reflects what we can do, no. And I think that one of the benefits or advantages that we have as a company is that if even though we are the fourth largest in the world in terms of screens and second in terms of attendance, when we need to do a very unique theater, we can do it. So we can be flexible as a small company, but with the backing of a large multinational. So that what makes us different, and I think the end result in this theater couldn't be better.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, we're
And
very proud of it too.
yeah, it looks really great. We've been submitting it for a lot of awards because it's so beautiful. We have to share it with everyone. So, kind of touching on a little bit of what you were saying, um, how do you determine what amenities to include in a theater? And I know that I know that you both had said that this was a collaboration with Caruso as well, but I'd love to hear, Luis, how you partner with designers and architects such as us here at RDC, to then design and make each location unique while staying on brand. And I know Mitra kind of touched on it a little bit too in the design intent, but I'd love to hear about that a little bit more in detail from both of you on how this working relationship works. And, especially because this theater was so unique and very
Well, I
special.
think overall, when we decide to go into a new site, we are trying to have a prototype, no, where we already know what is has to be in it in terms of amenities. No, we try to have obviously, the bar here has a very small concession, but at the end, also the design it has been evolving. No, so right now the new theaters that we're building this year won't have a box office. So we have eliminated the box office. People are very used to now to buying their tickets through a kiosk or through their app or website. So it doesn't make any sense to have a box office. And the next generation of theaters that will be opening probably by the end of this year or most likely 2020 won't have even a concession. No, so we will be designing a new theater
Wow.
with basically a very nice bar that and lounge area where you can sit to eat or drink something. And because and this is basically what has happened, people are now more used to ordering their food inside of the auditorium. So our sales in the concession are very minimal, so it doesn't make sense also to have the concession just taking space, taking labor, when you can be able to use that area to have a more nicer lobby. No, so we're doing that as we speak. And I think this we
Okay.
usually do internally, but we work with the architects like RDC in terms of what are the trends in terms of design, what have they seen in other countries, in other type of venues. It doesn't have to be theaters, so restaurants, hotel lobbies. We're
Hmm.
in the service industry, so
Yeah.
at the end you get ideas from everywhere to try to come up with something that the people or clients accept and like better, but also that they keep true to our values. No, so in terms of colors, finishes, that's what we try to also to respect, so that the end you don't finish with a product that is totally different from the rest. They have to have something in common, so that you are in a Cinépolis, but at the end also that they evolve as trends evolve and people evolve.
Wow,
Mm,
that's great.
yeah.
Mitra, do you want to talk a little bit about that? But also thank you
Yeah.
for sharing those details about upcoming theater designs. I think that's very interesting, but it makes a lot of
Mhm.
sense.
So, I think I really see the success of Sinopolis in the fact that, they have a very strong brand identity and DNA. So there's certain components that, it's part of the brand and it's consistent. And basically whenever there is a change, it's very strategic. For
Hmm.
example, in this theater, this was a very good example because it deviated from somewhat from their typical prototype, but the change, the size of the the project, and even the finishes and materials, and all of that, it was part of that strategy, that
Mm-hmm.
because of this particular location, this can be this way. So the way I see it is that they keep a very consistent brand, and I think that's part of the success. And but the other thing is that basically when you go to different locations, you do end up with some unique conditions that you need to be designed that they need to be designed with consideration of their brand. So there always have to be tweaks that you have to make. But these tweaks are, making these tweaks is a very collaborative process, the
Mm-hmm.
way we did it here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of kind of bouncing off of what Luis was just saying about some of the changes that Cinépolis is going to be doing in the next year or so, I'm, Mitra, especially since you've been doing this for, 25 years, I'd love to hear how you've seen the design of cinemas evolving over the years. I mean, generally it's still more or less the same, but I'm sure, especially with the rise of streaming and everything becoming digitized, you've seen some major tweaks to how theaters operate.
Yes, so movie chains and operators, they always keep reinventing themselves in response to the consumer needs, and
Mm-hmm.
that consumer needs changes. And so traditionally, I can start with the history. Traditionally, a movie theater consisted of a single auditorium called a uniplex,
Mm-hmm.
with sloped floors, staggered row of seats to give audience a clear view of the screen between the patrons'
Yeah.
heads. And if two people got closer together, you had a hard time seeing the screen. Um, and the concession was for basically served soda and candy, and then the megaplexes and multiplexes with stadium seating, basically um, provided optimum, viewing angles, and that became the norm.
Yeah.
Um, so, and then as a result, the building typology, became very complex in many aspects. Like we would have to tuck in the rooms under stadium seating for more efficiency, and also finding ideal locations for the accessible seats, especially in a stadium seating situation, and also paying attention to the viewing angles,
Mm-hmm.
and also just more complex exiting and code qualification process emerged basically as a result of this design. um, in addition, projections with films, they pretty large. They were located in mezzanines, but generally now the theater footprints are becoming smaller, with less number of auditoriums, with a more robust kitchen and back of house to accommodate the F&B components.
Mm-hmm.
um, they're boothless digital projectors with no need for a mezzanine floor. The stadium seating is accommodating the large and comfortable recliner seats,
Yeah.
and with tables, call buttons, and lights to accommodate in theater dining. And then even the stadium seating structure, there are options in doing it in foam versus steel frame. So it's constantly evolving, and I think I would say this is one of the most interesting time of movie theater design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I've actually never. I mean, you guys, maybe both of you can inform me a little bit, but I've actually never been to a luxury theater that has, the in-seat dining, and I'm very curious um, how that works in terms of so as to not disturb the other customers or clients during a film.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, what we would try is we call it the kind of like the ninja service, no? It's,
Okay.
and I think here is where it gets a little difficult, and you need to come to a balance, because you have some clients that really want to enjoy the movie and don't be
Yeah.
disturbed throughout it, but then you have some clients that maybe halfway to the movie they want to order dessert or a second drink. No? So we
Yeah.
try in terms of serving most of the people uh, at the beginning, no, at the beginning of the showing. So usually you can go into our auditoriums 15 minutes before the movie starts, so we can start taking your order. And in this way, we can serve it while the trailers are. No, so we usually our trailers last between 15 and 20 minutes
Yeah.
max. So that's the first objective, and obviously if that's not always the case, considering how big the order is, or if you have multiple items, or if you order for a second drink or something. So we what we try is obviously there's we do a lot of training to our servers and runners,
Hmm.
so that they walk through the path that blocks the less the sight from our clients. So they will go, like I said, we have a very big forum in the front of the auditorium. So if they have to go to the other side of the auditorium, they will walk down the stairs and go, and they will lean down and walk below the screen and then go up. And that's one way to do it. Obviously, the other thing that we have implemented, right, is that you can order food through our app. So that
Hmm.
will also help, that if you want something else, you can just take your phone. Obviously, try not to have it with a big light, but you can order
Yeah.
very quickly there, and then we'll just serve the food. Obviously, this doesn't apply for liquor or alcohol because
Of course.
of the licenses, but that
Yes.
at the end you start to reduce the amount of times that a runner or a server has to go to the auditorium. So you need to find a balance. It's not always perfect, uh,
Yeah.
because there will be some people that just don't want to have anyone going through auditorium. But
Hmm.
at the end, most of the people are, I guess, are getting used to these little obstructions, because you are also ordering food, and something might be coming for you too. So
Yeah.
that's how we try to do it.
Hmm. Well, I'll definitely need to go to Cinépolis and try this out for
Yeah,
myself.
for sure.
Okay, well, so we've been talking a lot about the theater specifically and this project and movie theaters as a whole, but we all know that streaming services are a big deal. I use them. Most people I know use them. So what keeps consumers coming back? In the age of streaming services.
Well, I think it's at the end the overall experience, no? And in the US, I think it has been different how cinemas have been evolving. So you have here in the US still a lot of theaters that are very old, that are not updated. Some of the companies have decided not to invest in capex in these theaters to upgrade them to the state of the art, or better seats, recliners, or whatever is happening in the rest of the world. So I think in the US that has been the problem, and it has caused that some people don't want to go to the theaters. But at the end, the human beings are social. You want to go out, you want to
Hmm.
socialize, you want to see people. Obviously, the best way to see a movie is in a theater, when you can feel the
Hmm.
ambience and what everybody else. So you laugh more or you cry more. It will never be the same experience in a theater that at your home. So what we need to do is that have a great theater with a correct price point. No, so nobody wants to go to a theater and pay between $10 and $20 or whatever the price is, and see that the theater not even has a stadium seating. No, it's an all theater with the slope inclination, seats that barely recline, very old, moldy. Well, you will never go. No, it's the same with restaurants. If you go to an old restaurant that has not been updated, you will prefer to stay at home.
Yeah.
And if you see, everybody has a kitchen in their homes with a stove and fridge, and people still go out for to restaurants, no? So I think it's the same with movies. And
Mhm.
there's a study made that people that go to the movies are also the people that see the most movies through streaming. So I think they complement each other, no? So there will be a time when you want to stay at home and watch a movie, and it could be a new movie, or you want to watch it again. And there will be times when you want to go out, enjoy different kind of food, a drink in a great seat and with awesome screen, the sound, and you will enjoy it. So I think that's the way we do it. We need to build theaters that have the appeal for people to get out of their home and go and visit our theaters, at least ours.
Yeah. At least yours
Yes.
Yeah,
specifically. I mean, that's a good point that you made in relation to like us and eating out. I mean, yes, we all have kitchens, but we still choose to eat out. And I mean, it's the same thing. We all have the opportunity to watch a film at home, but it's the same with movie theaters. So that's actually a really good point. Do you have
yeah.
any thoughts, Mitra?
Yeah, actually, so I totally agree with Louis with all the points he made. So, uh, generally, I think it basically comes down to providing comfort, convenience, and also multi-sensory experiences and creating beautiful architectural spaces. So, I think comfort and convenience are achieved by this enhanced seating that we see, and also reserved seating options, for example. That's also another convenience. And then the unique multisensory experiences are achieved through healthy and more artisanal food and beverage offerings. And then, in addition, I think technology advancements and is a big deal because especially the fact that most of the moviegoers are in a younger age, and they are very tech savvy, and I think that helps the situation if you have a kind of an offer an advanced
Mm-hmm.
technology. And this thing, and we see that the theaters, they're using 4D cinema, that and or other technologies or that they're incorporating, that's critical. As well as architectural experiences that are crucial to create something unique, and that would add to the whole experience, basically. And I agree with Lewis. Basically, of course, movie theaters can create a unique experience of community,
Yeah.
and like amazing response to movies like Black Panther has shown us this recently.
Yeah.
So, and people want to leave their home, especially like teenagers who always need to leave
Mm.
their parents at home and go out with their friends. So, and uh, and I think that all contributes to this process.
Yeah, I think the community aspect, funny enough, when you go to the movies, you're not trying to talk to the people next to you. But I think, I mean, even like how you mentioned Black Panther is a specific example. Like all the people that I knew that when that film came out, they went out in droves. They dressed up, they
Yeah,
got all their friends together. It was a really big deal.
yeah,
And even yeah, just because the idea like you're all coming together for this experience, and even for me personally, like my friends and I had done that with the film Crazy Rich Asians.
yeah,
When that film came out, we're like, oh, we need to go see it in the
yeah,
opening week. And so yeah, that's community is a big
Yeah,
thing.
yes.
and I think
In a way, it's a
yes,
cultural
and
event.
like Mitra said, I think innovation is also something that is important to have, no? To think about different ways to target your clients. For example, we created a junior screen that is a screen designed especially for kids, with seat for
Yeah.
kids, and it has slides. So you need to think about how you can target that preference of your client, and design
Mhm.
something that appeals to them. So innovation is very important.
Yeah, I yes, yes, I agree. And I saw that on the website that you guys do have, theaters specifically for children as well. And I think that's actually really cool because yeah, kids have different needs than most people and they need to be able to they can't sit still like we do. So that's really cool that you guys do that. Um so what are some, I know we've kind of touched on this a little bit already throughout the interview, but what are some other cinema and entertainment trends that both of you are foresee um, going on this year? I mean, we're still early in the year. There's still a lot of things that can happen and that can change. What do you guys think is going to be happening this year in terms of cinema and entertainment trends as a whole?
Well, I think technology will continue to evolve, and right now
Mhm.
we're seeing obviously the new technology that the Korean company CJ has, that is called ScreenX. That I think something that is very interesting, where they use the side panels of the theater as a screen, and they project in the side panels, and the complete side panels, they project some images that complement the movie. So the movie, you're still looking to the front, and what you're watching in the movie won't change. It's more in terms of the side scenery. So that takes you a little more inside of the movie. You feel more immersed. Obviously, with new projectors, the laser projectors now being installed, we have also the LED screens that Samsung and Sony are trying to push forward in terms of having now a auditorium without a projector. No, it's kind of like having a huge TV instead of having the projector. So I think there will be new seats. Obviously, seats now. Some seats have heaters. So I think everywhere you see the innovation, and everywhere in the theories, it continues to evolve. No, and that will be continued to trend, to see how new technologies can be used in the theater to have a better experience. For example, there's another company that what they do is, when you go to a theater, you download their app, and if you're going to see, for example, Captain Marvel next week, and you wanted to see it, hear it translated, because you don't maybe English is not your mother tongue, so you just put the phone, you put your headphones in, and the phone hears what the movie is playing, and they will translate the dialogues to your language automatically. So I think it's different ways in order to have more people to enjoy the theater, or to have a better experience at the theater.
Yeah, I can't agree more with what Louis said. Basically, that's what I'm thinking as well. But I also think there are about two other subjects that I think operators should focus on, and uh, and I think in response to these changes, it's critical for operators to create kind of their own unique story, through design
Mhm.
and branding, and kind of stay consistent with that branding. I think that's how you separate themselves from everybody else. So, and this is something that as architects, we obviously take very seriously. And then also I think operators, should focus on how to use their auditoria during downtimes,
Yeah.
by offering these spaces for, for example, for gaming opportunities with F&B offerings, private screening, or community events to increase their revenue. Because I
Mhm.
think that's always been the
Of
challenge of
course.
how to really, and I think that's something maybe Louis can speak to more. But I think that's one of the items that came to my mind.
Yeah, actually, speaking of the gaming opportunities, esports, competitive video games.
Hmm.
I've seen that some theaters, like in their downtime, they will convert that into viewing parties for those,
Yes.
because that is also a huge thing that's been coming up in the last maybe almost 10 years. There's now stadiums being built for it, so if
Yeah.
maybe for people who can't afford to get to a stadium, they'll go to like their local theater.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's actually a good point that you're making.
Yeah, I think alternative content will continue to
Yeah.
grow in theaters, and right now you can see a either a live or taped concert. You can see the
Mhm.
opera. Obviously, you can have different events. We have done, for example, meetings, remote meetings when we have the CEO of a company in one theater, and then they have in the rest of the cities. They bring people from the different branches, and they can see him uh, talk and give a conference live, and that also is very convenient. And yes, I think e-sports or e-gaming will continue to grow, and it's something that we have considered doing in terms of having some of the tournaments, or even have our own tournaments
Yeah,
in our theaters. But
that
yes,
would be awesome.
yes, so that's something, yeah, to consider.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Yeah, well, we've been talking for almost an hour. That went by really
Oh,
fast.
really? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Went fast.
Thank you so much, Luis and Mitra, for sitting
Yeah.
down with me. This has been really
Yeah.
great talking to
Thank
you
you.
both
I
about
appreciate
this.
it, Luis. Thank you for giving your time to us. It's really greatly appreciated.
No, no, it's my pleasure. It was very nice talking to you. Always is I'm at your service. We have been having a great relationship with Mitra and RDC, and it's something that we really appreciate, and we're really happy of the work they did in Pacific Palisades, and we're looking forward for the in working in the next projects, no? And we're
Likewise.
always happy to collaborate and help.
Thank you, Luis.
Well,
I look
thank you
forward to it
so
too.
much.
See you soon. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
And that's all we have for this week's show. Thank you once again to both Mitra and Luis for taking some time out of your busy schedules to talk to us a little bit about the design of our latest project, Cinépolis, but also talking about some trends in entertainment and theaters nowadays. If you haven't already, check out Cinépolis USA. And if you're ever in the Pacific Palisades area, why don't you check out the theater there as well? And until next time, I'll see you soon.